Oh, shit. I thought I turned that off. Here we go. God damn it. Damn it.
And welcome into the Wheelhouse here, Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. As the tag team is back again, Matt Mascarenas is back after a short little layoff with kids sports and the like. Matt, how are we this morning?
I'm doing great this morning, Mike. I'm doing great. I had a little hiatus, kids sports and stuff like that, but I'm back and it feels like it's been a while, even though we still chat with each other a lot, but we don't chat in this sense. So I'm excited to get back and talk about some sports with you
Yeah, as
and
a
whatever
lot,
else comes up.
yeah, a lot has gone on in these last couple of weeks. The Broncos still suck if you didn't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's just like we mentioned before we came on here, Matt. Uh, I don't know what it is. This season in the NFL, football in general is just I don't know. Maybe because we're still on and we had Nick on from Undrafted Uncensored last week, Matt, and we are kind of talking about this is like the best time of year because now you have all four professional sports playing at one time. You obviously have the start of the NFL and NBA season, or excuse me, start of the NHL season, and then the NBA season coming up here in a short, less than 2 weeks away from the regular season start, and then obviously
Mhm.
we are in the championship series already in Major League Baseball. So it's a fun time of year, what should be a fun time of year. But like we mentioned, football is just kind of weird this year.
Yeah, I mean, if it hasn't, because I normally get excited about college football and I watch college football a lot, but this year with CU, it's like that's kind of been, especially around here with the way the Broncos play, has been a saving grace to be excited to get up and watch college. If you're a not a fan of another college football team, obviously, but yeah, the NFL in general, overall, I was watching it last week and then the week before. When it's just um there's not there's I don't- there's no there's nothing exciting about it, and I'm sure that you if I really got down and looked, we could find something, but I'm just not. It's not competitive. It's not. Everybody's hurt. Like Anthony Richardson now, I was reading this morning, is going to be out. They're probably going to have season ending. I was really looking forward to see what he turns out. Bryce Young is down in Carolina. The Broncos are so bad at football. The Packers, that's kind of been a saving grace for me, I guess. Watch the transformation of Jordan Love and to see what that young football team goes. But even it's but other than that, it's just it hasn't been that exciting. I don't know about you. I know you have other aspects of football that's exciting for you, but the NFL in general has kind of been.
Yeah, it's been kind of weird. I don't know what it is. And again, maybe you're just waiting for the NBA season to start,
Yeah.
or we're still on a championship high here. At least I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's kind of weird as we get things going. Many ways for you to get involved. As always, on Instagram, you can go follow everything on there at Elevation 5280 Radio. Give us a follow as well at House Dad Matt at Sports Junkie 25, and then you can do everything on X. Gonna give it to you at 5280 Sports Radio at Matt Mascarenas 1 at Michael Spillin on the X machine, and also subscribe and like our YouTube channel as well as these VODs. I think we agreed that it's called a VOD, right? A video podcast
Yeah.
is what this is called. So
VOD.
go to YouTube as
Yes.
well at 5280 Sports Radio as um, videos on there as well. And also go to our home base, e5280sports.com as well, as Tom just put out his fantasy outlook as he recaps week 5 in the NFL. and then a preview for week 6. A lot of injuries, like you just mentioned. So make sure you go to our front page there, Fantasy Talk with Tom, as he will get you set for your lineup this week. We do have a game over across the pond there in London, Matt, and that's probably terrible accent, but Baltimore leads Tennessee 6-3 right now. Once again, across the pond. Is it Wembley Stadium, or is that where the tennis
Wem-
is, Matt? What is it? Is it called Wembley? Wemby?
Wemby, I think. Wemby Stadium.
So go
Yeah, I
check them
think
out
that's
at
is that
Victor Wembanyama Stadium, and that's 6-3 right now. Baltimore leads it over Tennessee as we get things going here this morning, Matt. And the college football is what we'll lead off with today, and another crazy week, at least in the top 25, Matt. We've seen a lot of these upsets and stuff like that. More than likely this week, though, the higher ranked teams, most of them got the win. A big one last night as number 21 Notre Dame takes down number 10 USC. Caleb Williams had a horrific game. As I read there was 8 to 10 NFL teams sent scouts out to that game. He threw 3 picks as Notre Dame gets the win, 48-20. North Carolina, they're ranked number 12. It's still weird seeing North Carolina ranked that high as a football school, as we know them more as a basketball school, but they take down Miami 41-31. Missouri with an upset over number 24, Kentucky 38-21. Oregon State takes down UCLA 36-24. Duke gets their win. Duke and UNC, I don't know what it is about seeing them ranked in football, Matt, but it's just weird.
I know. I've been you got Drake May and doing the things that he's looking like, especially what Caleb Williams, and then he had Phoenix that he came out looking like, I think if I was looking at the Heisman the rankings today, I think he would be at the top just because of what happened with Caleb Williams, and everybody's this morning on X is down on Caleb Williams. It was bound to happen as far as the Trojans losing is that defense, except you can't point the finger at the defense this time. That was more offensively kind of a blowout there, or a blow up, I should say, with the Trojans. But you were waiting for it. I mean, look what happened with CU. CU almost came back on them, and then they struggled with Arizona State. So it was looking like that was going to happen with USC, and then Notre Dame's Notre Dame, and the biggest thing with me is that I'm starting to get really, really interested in is that Heisman watch. Watching these top teams lose and or potentially lose, and then how these quarterbacks play, it really, really heightens up that race when it comes to when you talk about the Heisman, like it did with Caleb Williams, and everybody's down on the dude now. See, they're pointing fingers. See, I told you he wasn't that good. See, I told you a dude that paints his nails can't do this and that. So that's going to be exciting to see going forward, especially this week.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then you have a couple more upsets here. Arizona, who played tough last week, almost took down USC. They take down number 19 Washington State 44-6. And then Louisville falls to unranked Pittsburgh. Louisville ranked number 14. They lose 38-21. Oklahoma State takes down number 23 Kansas 39-32. And that, I don't know if you watched that Washington Oregon game. That was a fun one to watch, as number 7 Washington gets the win over number 8 Oregon 36-33. Penn State absolutely demolishes UMass 63-0, and up and down the rest of these top 25 teams got the win. Michigan absolutely destroys Indiana 52-7. Michigan's going to be interesting heading into the playoffs here, Matt. They have a great chance to even win the whole thing, as number 1 Georgia takes down Vanderbilt 37-20, and then number 3 Ohio State wins over Purdue 41-7. So your top 4 teams get all victories. Florida State, number 4, takes down Syracuse 41-3. And Alabama, they're having a very roller coaster season, Matt. As
they're struggling.
I don't know. They get back on the winning track. Arkansas almost came away with that game, by the way. But Alabama escapes 24-21.
Yeah, I was kind of with Alabama. I mean, I don't know how much Alabama you've watched, and I'm trying to look at it is if this is a situation to where is I can't say, just like Bill Belichick, the situation you got going on in the NFL, with people are saying that is it time for Bill Belichick to go away? Is it time? And now people are you're hearing it's time for Saban. It's time for him to step down and go away. He's still he's still in the top. I mean, he's still in the top 10. I mean, they're still ranked up there. What are they ranked? Top I just lost the dang thing here. They're 11, so they're outside of the top 10. My mistake. All reaction zero research. Remember, Mike? But that they're losing games, or they're making games closer than what they had to be. They don't have over just like a better example at quarterback than the other team. They don't have that over the top. I don't know if that this defense is as good as an Alabama defense has been good in years. So I don't know if it's and there's another thing that's going on in football. What I've seen too is a lot of people are pointing more fingers at the players now instead of coaches. And the coaches are the ones too that are saying, hey, these players, and they're saying things in the ways that coaches say things, but they're talking about the players more and pointing more fingers at them, or than you'd see in past. Like it's even though there's still that conversation about Nick Saban, should he be out? Should he be out? Should Belichick be out? But there's more looking at the players, and I think that's just going to where we are as a whole with football being bad, is maybe these players aren't as good anymore.
Right. Maybe some of the, yeah. I mean, I don't know. And then maybe that falls back on coaching.
Right.
Why are you playing the wrong players in these positions? Why aren't the players executing what the players
Right.
or what the coaches, excuse me, have on the game plan? So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. Football is just weird this year, Matt. But that's kind of your outlook on the top 25 as we transitioned into what happened here locally on Friday night, Matt. Weird, kind of cold, bitter college football game here in Boulder locally, as we are based in Colorado. CU had a 29-0 lead at halftime, Matt, and they had a 100% win rate heading into the third quarter. And I fell asleep.
Me
So
too.
I thought, and driving home late Friday night, I was listening to on the radio, and it was 29-26. So that's how close I listened to it. And then got home and then just kind of crashed out. So I did not see the epic the finish of the epic meltdown by the Colorado Golden Buffaloes. And you heard kind of the comments for Deion Sanders after the game, saying maybe these guys don't love this. I love this. So I don't know if we have, basically saying, I don't know if we have the right guys out there. If you like it, basically kind of, and I'm obviously paraphrasing here, you kind of compared it to social media. You're just going to go out and like something like you do on social media, just kind of scroll through the pages, like something here and there, or do you love it? Like, are you going to dive into it? Do you have a passion for it? And you can go and probably see Deion's comments anywhere, I'm assuming. And so, look, I don't know what to say, Matt, because I think everyone after the first three games that CU won, starting at 3-0, I think everyone, again, maybe the casual fan, when I say everyone, expected this team to somehow go undefeated, but people who follow college football closely knew they were going to struggle against USC, knew they were going to struggle against Oregon. They were not going to go undefeated, but it was an exciting start to the season. So I don't know where you go from here. I had this one down as a winnable game for them. Now they're 4-3. I think 6 is the magic number to reach the bowl status. So, and they still have a couple more winnable games, but after this one, man, after this epic collapse, like, do you even consider those other games winnable games now?
Yeah, this was one that could very well have knocked them out of a bowl game. Like, this was the one that you can get that would put you into that situation, because what you got to, like, 5 or 6 games to be eligible for a bowl game. I think that's the way it works out. But yeah, this was a very winnable game. and CU did everything Dion was asking them to do. The offense came out and was on fire. They couldn't be stopped. Defensively, there was a couple shaky moments, but they did not score at all. They didn't score a touchdown. The defense looked like they were doing what they needed to do, and they were and at the same time, Stanford was not executing on offense. They weren't completing the passes but that kid was getting open. That guy that just torched Travis Hunter, who had his first game back, which was also like people are starting to say that Travis Hunter's he's a better receiver than he is the DB. He's better at this, better than that. The guy had an internal organ lacerated or
Sorry, I didn't interrupt, but would you have just played him on one side of the football his first game back? Would you have played him on both sides his first game?
That's the thing too, that yes, I probably would have played him on offense, because offense is more, you can I would have played him on offense just to get him back, just to get him going. Maybe a couple snaps on defense, maybe, but at the same time, like there's that aspect of it that the way Dion could be looking at it, if you're not 100% back, then you're not going to be back. Does he have that mindset? Because I feel like he did. So, or he kind of does have that mindset. So that's why he's like, if you're going to be back, you're going to do. And he feels like the kind of kid that's going to go out there and want to be on both sides. Me personally, yeah, as a coach, I probably would have said, hey, yeah, I want you just to play offense tonight, or just play defense, or I want you to get back and come and get back into this, because we're going to need you down the stretch. And the way I looked at this game, because I was like, I mean, you listened to more of it than I did. I passed out when it was 29-0 at halftime. I'm seriously thinking the way Stanford was playing, that they're not going to score, and the way CU was playing on offense, they're going to keep scoring. So I didn't think that they weren't going to score nothing. And I did not anticipate that. But these were big, giant, big bust out plays. It's not like Stanford methodically beat them up and down the field. So there's that way to look at it. And then how Dion came out, how Prime said that they don't love it as much as I do. And that's getting kind of carried out of context. I think he's talking about in the moment. Like, it's hard because I've been with this generation of kids, so I understand the generation that they have right there. I've coached kids through middle school and high school, and I have a good feel on the mindset. There's some that love the sport, and you can tell. But for the most part, they're kids, and there's still other things that pique their interest. There's still other things that I don't know if you can consider love. I just don't understand if they know what love means yet. And maybe that to love a sport, to love a football game, or even to play football as much as Dion does. And I think that's what he means by that is he's either got to teach them how to understand how to love this game. Some of them might not understand some of them might think that they do, but they don't love it the way he does. So I think that's just another part of how Dion does things, and how he uses words and ways and phrases and ways and says things a certain way to get a reaction or a certain mindset. But that, in my opinion, that was probably his worst loss as a head coach, because your team gave up. I mean, I'm looking at the box score here, and they scored 19 points in the third quarter and 17 in the fourth quarter. And it took CU they scored one touchdown in the fourth quarter. And traditionally this season, CU has been that team that goes crazy in the second half. And they didn't do that here. So was it a collapse? I think it was more shock. And the way I look at these teams that are new, CU they've won games in different ways, and they've lost games in different ways. They've got blown out. They've had a team come back big on them. I think that was the most CU's ever been ahead and lost. And they've also won games where they had to come back. They won games close in overtime. They had CSU kind of come back on them, which CSU had a great win last night. So they're getting experience in losing and winning in different ways. And I just think that they're still young as a team, and they're still learning how to do things. And that's pretty much all this was. There's no way that as a CU, as coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, or just a FBS coach, this is probably Dion's worst loss because of the fashion that it happened, the way it happened.
Right. And again, maybe that is the problem, is that you mentioned that they're just kids. Maybe they don't know what passion is yet. Maybe, and that's what college is
Right.
for, right? That's
Right.
where you're trying to find your passion. But again, football is a huge commitment, whether it's in school, out of school. You gotta find it quick. And maybe that's what Dion was saying. Like, is it a problem that I love this game more than these kids do?
Right.
But then it goes back to what you just said. Maybe they don't know what that takes to love a sport yet. Maybe, maybe after college, after you're done, a lot of these kids won't even be in the NFL. They're going to pursue, maybe being a lawyer or
Right.
I don't know, a veterinarian, whatever the case may be.
Right.
A lot of these kids, besides a handful, obviously the Shador Sanders of the world and maybe the Travis Hunters of the world, none of these guys are going to the NFL. So, maybe football is maybe third, fourth down on their list of passions right now.
Right. And that's I think could be, it potentially could be a problem for the way that that Prime's, building these teams is he wants a certain type of kid. Well, like you said, these are college kids. These are kids that maybe they're just using football to get into college, to be in college, and maybe Coach Prime doesn't want those kind of kids. Those kids, I can't see that Coach Prime just wants kids that love football and that's all they want to do, and they want to go to the NFL. I don't think that that's possible to get kids, every single kid on your roster, on your team, that has that same mindset. So maybe it could be potentially a problem for the way Dion's building these. But I have heard him say that there's different types of kids that he gets. There's different types of personalities and in home structure and things like that he looks for different positions. So I don't know how much that goes into it, but you're 100% right that some of these kids, they could be really good college football players. They could be productive college football players, but maybe they don't love it. Maybe they don't have the passion for it as much as this guy who's a two-sport Hall of Famer, and it's he's trying to squeeze that out of this guy that's, like you said, going to be a lawyer or a vet or a insurance salesman, whatever it is, a mortgage. I don't know if that's going to be a problem if Coach Prime wants these guys that love football and that's it, and that's going to be hard to find 50 or 80, however many guys that he needs. In my opinion, or my experience, you only need a handful of those guys on both sides of the ball, and then mix in the rest of the guys, and you can get by pretty good. So that's going to be interesting going forward if that is the mindset of Prime, and it's going to be tough to find nothing but those guys. And it's that's something to see. If that's exactly what he wants, it's going to be tough to find. Usually you want a mix of those guys, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, so we will see what the Buffaloes go from here. As I said, this was your double digit point favorite at home, and you were basically expected to win this type of game. So we will see what happens from here on out. And this is one of those games, Matt, where you go down their schedule and you're like, man, this is one of those games they got to get if they want to be in that bowl kind of area. And as they will head to UCLA next week, who's, I don't want to say falling off the wagon a bit, but they've struggled the last couple of weeks. They go to UCLA.
That's going to be a tough game, yeah.
The week after that, they host Oregon State, who is ranked number 15, and then you face Arizona, who just demolished I mean, they just got a big win this last week, and they played USC tough last week. And then you finish up with Washington State, who just got a huge win, and then you finish the season out with Utah. So this was one of those wins, Matt.
You had to have, yeah.
You had to have to get 6, but now
Mm-hmm.
maybe you only have one more winnable game, and that's the Arizona game, and I'm not even sure if that's winnable anymore.
Exactly. The way because you have, yeah, you have to. You're not going to go into Wazoo and beat the Cougars the way that they've been playing this year. That Oregon State game, the only saving grace with the Oregon State game and the Arizona game is that they're at home. That's the only saving grace. I feel like CU has developed a home field advantage, even though they just lost at home against Stanford. But you saw the emotion. You saw how that stadium is locked in. So I feel like Folsom is a good is that's good to have those games, especially that game against Arizona, which you can look at and circle. That could be one that you can get a victory here going forward. But yeah, Oregon State up until this past couple of weeks, they have been one of the better teams, if not, you could say in some cases they were the best team in the Pac-12. So that's gonna be a tough game, and that's it. Nobody was giving them a shot to win that game. Nobody was giving them really a shot to win the UCLA game. They were looking at the Stanford game and that Arizona game as those games to get them into the bowl, to get them to be bowl eligible or into the bowl picture. It's going to be very, very, very difficult going forward. Coach Prime's going to find out what he has in his players and in his coaching staff too. Going forward, there's been a lot of question marks about Joe Kelly. Is this guy coming out in the second half? Is he making the necessary adjustments? You know, I think this offense has been more consistent, stemming from the USC game, Arizona State game, a little stumble there, but again, that's on the road, and there's this team still learning how to do things. That was all about the kicker Mata. That was all about him. That game was a big time Mata game. That was a dirty, ugly game, and you needed to have your kicker locked in, which you did. So that's another way that CU's learned how to win. But yeah, as far as your goal was to be bowl eligible this year, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You can look at that Arizona game and say that that's their next remaining best potential at a win on this schedule. But everything out that game at Utah, if that quarterback is back, Rising, I think that's his name. If he's back and back in action and playing, that's going to be a tough game too.
Yeah. And even after that game-winning field goal by Mata last week, Matt, Coach Prime seemed more upset about that win than he was about this loss. And I don't know. I kind of feel like the NCAA, even if they only get to I know the magic number should be 6 wins, but I almost feel like they might just sneak CU into a bowl game.
Right.
Like I don't even know what you would call it, maybe like the Dixie Cup Bowl.
Yeah.
And just say, here's CU, because you know what? Even if they make a bowl game, Matt, they're going to make the NCAA a lot of money just because of Coach Prime's name. So they may try to sneak them in there the wrong way.
If they would have they need one more win. And I've seen, I already saw like a bowl offer a bowl to CU. I can't remember what it was, but
Like the cereal bowl.
Yeah, it's like the Sony Radio Shack Bowl or something like that. You know, it's the Best Buy Bowl, the Hollywood Video Bowl. I don't know.
Blockbuster Bowl.
Yeah, something like that. You know, that's you're right. But I feel like if they can do that, if they can get snuck in, they have to get one more. But they had it right there for them because they beat Stanford. And you get that Arizona win. Some people were even going to pick them to beat UCLA next week, but gosh, it's hard. It's really hard, like you said earlier, to find a win with the way Arizona came out and the way the schedule is just lined up with these teams going down the stretch. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but they have to at least get to 5 if the NCAA is going to, or they're going to be shoehorned into a bowl.
Like I said, they could potentially make the NCAA a lot of money, regardless of what their record is, if they get snuck into a bowl game. So, and Coach Prime, if they were like, hey, you're going to go play in the discount tire bowl, Coach Prime might take offense to that. Like, no, we're not. Can you? Are they allowed to deny a invitation?
Yeah, I think so. The way I understand it, they can, and that would be something if because like I believe 100% that they're going to get offered a bowl, but they have to if they at least win 5. But yeah,
it's going to be a large. I mean, regardless of what the record is, it's going to be a huge draw for the NCAA. The CU Buffs, regardless of what the record is, if they get offered the Spirit Halloween Bowl,
yeah,
they're going to make college football a ton of money just because of what's happening right now.
Yeah, that's the next question. How is Coach Prime going to look at that? Is it going to be looked at disrespectful? Is it going to be looked at? Is he helping his team, his kids out? Because he's all about those kids. I know he cares about those kids, and if taking them to a bowl game is the right thing to do, he'll do it for his kids. But if it isn't, he won't. But that's one that's interesting. Nah, we're not gonna go to the Crab Shack Bowl. Nah, we're not going. Joe's Crab Shack Bowl.
Yeah, we're good. We're gonna stay away from that. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see what happens with CU in a bowl game, and this top 4 teams that are ranked 1 through 4 are going to be tough to. We'll see how the seeding sorts out. The new ranking should come out some point today. So we will see what things have changed, at least towards the top, Matt, because there was a lot of those upper ranked teams, and by upper I mean 20 to 25 that could be in and out of the rankings after what happened yesterday. So we will find out here shortly, as again the rankings will come out. The new rankings come out on Sunday, so we will see what happens there. Transitioning, speaking of playoffs, Matt, we are already in the championship series in Major League Baseball. The Final Four is set. Game 1 between the Texas Rangers. It's a Texas showdown, Matt.
Yep.
They don't have to travel far as the Houston Astros make their seventh straight, Matt, ALCS, as they will host the Texas Rangers. So I think Nick and I talked about this last week, the failure of the New York Mets, and then they go ahead and trade Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Verlander goes back to Houston. He's going to get the Game 1 start today. I think Scherzer is going to start tomorrow for the Rangers, as Montgomery is going to get the start today for the Texas Rangers. But kind of interesting that they're going to be facing off now in the ALCS. A lot of people were shocked that the Phillies took care of the Braves, Matt. The Braves were the best team in the regular season. They looked like the best team in the playoffs. Speaking of Tom, who does our Fantasy Talk with Tom, he wrote an article about the Atlanta Braves, and now they are out. How about this, Matt? The 2 teams that you would maybe least expect to come out of the National League, Matt, the Phillies get by the Braves, and the Arizona Diamondbacks get past the vaunted LA Dodgers.
Let's start with the Astros. How many in a row did you say that was for them?
7 straight championship leagues series.
Is that since the whole trash can banging thing?
Including the cheating, yes.
Man,
maybe it should only be like 5, maybe, but yeah, 7 straight.
But that's still like what are they doing there to be? Is that more of, because are they still cheating? Like what are they that I mean, I'm being facetious obviously, because I don't really think that they're still cheating, but
I think they're a lot more cleaner now with Dusty down there.
Right. I do too. But you got to look at that and say that's pretty damn impressive. I mean, dynasty is that looked at as a dynasty now? Or can you not look at that because of the trash can stuff? It's really, it's really impressive. And then, like you said, Verlander and then Scherzer. That's with the was it the Mets problem? Was it like because they go on different teams and then those two teams, like you mentioned, are in the ALCS. So that's a good storyline there. I've my adopted team is the Rangers because I've since I mean my Braves are out, but I don't really can't really call them my Braves because I really haven't been involved with them as it's just as far as every now and then. So my adopted team are the Rangers, and I think with this series, I'm excited. I'm going to go with the Rangers, but I'm pretty excited about to watch this series because I did watch a little bit of the Ray series, and then I watched the Orioles series. So I guess you can say I'm and I got a couple buddies that are Ranger fans, so they've been getting me all into it. So as far as this postseason goes, I'm kind of excited to watch the Rangers.
Right. And of those last 7 straight ALCS championship berths, they've only won 4 of them. 2000, it was 2017, 19, 21, and of course last year they won the World Series last year. So, and of those 7 straight ALCSs, they've only won 2 World Series out of them. So, yeah, I mean it is impressive. And again, I think Dusty's running a lot more clean ship down there. Dusty Baker, how about that? The former castoffs from California, Dusty Baker with the I almost said New York Giants, the San Francisco Giants, and of course Bruce Bochy with the San Francisco Giants and the San Diego Padres. So Bruce Bochy versus Dusty Baker, two classy managers battling it out down there now in Texas as the Rangers and the Houston will get going today around. It's 8:15 Eastern, so it'll be 6:15 here local. That'll get started. And again, on the National League side of things, the Philadelphia Phillies have just clubbed their way in to the National League Championship Series against Arizona. I don't know where Arizona. I don't know where Arizona came from, but out of the AL West, we kind of know them very well. So good for Arizona to make it. I'm kind of my heart's going for Texas versus Arizona in the World Series, but I'm not going to count out Philadelphia either. They are although they haven't won in a while, Matt, they're still built for the playoffs. They're a seasoned veteran team.
Yeah, Arizona is one of those teams where it's like you said, where the hell did they come from? But they've always kind of been there. They always just kind of hang around, and just the way that they build those teams, the way that they play baseball. They were 84 and 78. They're 84 and 78, and they beat the 100-win Dodgers. Didn't they sweep them, or did the Dodgers even win one?
Arizona swept them.
Yeah, I mean, like as far as on the field stuff goes, I really haven't. I outside of a Rockies game and when the Rockies play them, like you said, I feel like we know these teams, especially the Diamondbacks, and it's always like they're always there, but it's like where the hell where I didn't even know they were even. It's just it's crazy, and yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I'm looking for a Rangers Diamondbacks World Series. I think that would be entertaining, and because I do not like Bryce Harper. I think we've talked about this before. I don't know, but I was an umpire growing up, and I have a lot of friends that worked Bryce Harper games when he was in college. Because the whole story is he left high school, right, and he went to go play. Went to play wooden bat league, so that would be like RMAC. That would be like a JUCO almost, where you could play wooden bat to get prepared. A lot of these kids do this. This guy was an absolute a-hole, just straight up a-hole, and I cannot stand him because I have witnessed with my own eyes how he treats me. He might be different now, but the dude I knew
doesn't look like it.
I can't stand a guy. So there's nothing, and I haven't liked the Phillies since that Rocky series in 2007 with Rollins, and I'm trying to remember who else was on those teams, but I couldn't stand the Philly teams back then. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard. Oh, I could not
Not
stand Ryan Howard, man.
Not the Dunder Mifflin temp, but
no, not the no, not the and that was even worse. That story in that when he was sitting there and he's like, okay, it was the worst.
He hits a home run to space.
So I can't stand the Phillies. So of course I'm rooting for the Diamondbacks, and I'm excited about it to watch. I like those storylines like that. So for me, these championship games, they both have storylines that I'm going to be interested in. I'm going to be interested to see where Scherzer goes because, like I was reading and I was talking to my Ranger buddies. They were saying that they might use him as a spot starter or off the. I don't know if he's going to start tomorrow. I don't know how. I'm excited to see how they work him in there. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped for these championship games, and I'll definitely be watching today.
Yeah, see, they already have. Yesterday it said to be determined for pitchers for Texas, but Nathan Eovaldi is going to get the start in game 2.
Okay, and
tomorrow. So,
and I was and he's done what they did with him with the Orioles series. How they like had him go a couple innings, or they and then they brought I kind of like that's one of the things about pitching in the playoffs is the chess matches that these managers use with that pitching staff, because you don't have to have normal 4 to 5 day starters. You can move those around up and down the rotation. So I'm pretty pumped up for these championship games with the Major League Baseball for sure.
By the way, if you're on the East Coast in Philadelphia, why didn't they give the Philadelphia Arizona game 1 that 4:37 Eastern time slot? I mean, Texas is in Central Time. They don't have to travel anywhere. Why are you giving the Arizona game 1 at Philadelphia, the 8:07 Eastern Time? I feel bad for living in Florida for those 5 months, Matt.
Yeah.
Watching sports sucked. So that game's not going to go over till after midnight on a Monday, which kind of sucks. Speaking of Arizona, Matt, not only did they sweep the Dodgers, they've swept their way to the NLCS. They took care of the Brewers and then the Dodgers. And how about the AL East, Matt? Did not win a game. All 3 teams did not win a game in these playoffs. The Minnesota Twins swept the Toronto Blue Jays. The Tampa Bay Texas beat Tampa Bay 2-0, and then Texas swept the Baltimore Orioles 3-0. So the AL East did not show up in these playoffs at all. I was happy for the Miami Marlins to make it. They didn't win a game. So there was a couple of teams in there I'm like, kind of had my heart into, like Tampa. They've like Arizona. They've hung around all these times and just haven't broken through. Minnesota, it was kind of good to see them back in the playoffs. Toronto, I mean, they've been absent for I don't know how long.
Right.
And then, of course, Milwaukee and Miami, good to see them on the National League side of things. By the way, do you like this new playoff format? They get rid of the 1-game wild card, win or go home, sudden death. So they add 2 teams. They add 2 wild card teams to this format. And now, it's best of 3, best of 5, and then best of 7, best of 7. Do you like this new format?
I do like that, because the baseball and basketball, just for examples, are games where you have to play best of series. You can't just that one game is I did not like the one game. Yeah, there was the sudden death aspect of it. You win, you go on, you lose, you go home. But it's baseball. If you're gonna win one game, why can't you come back and win another one in that sense when those 3-game sets? I do like the way, and I've always liked that. And I wish they would go back to basketball. I liked it in basketball, how they would go 5 games or 5 games. And then the championship series would be 7 games. So I wish they would do that in basketball, because it doesn't make it any longer than it has to be. It gives you enough time to decide the right team. The best team's going to go on, because the best team's going to win the series. And then they go on, and then you get into those long series where they should be in the championship games. So yeah, I did like it.
It's weird to call a 2-0 series win a sweep, by the way. So when Nick was on with me last week, we kind of called it a Swiffer. Not really. Not really a full sweep, but you got the little Swiffer duster.
Like a dust buster. Yeah. Like a duster. Yeah.
The 2-0 series win is it's almost cheating a full sweep, a 4-game sweep. 3 games, I don't know what you call that. Maybe that one's kind of weird too. 3-0. I don't know if that's a mop, maybe, or
Maybe.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I do like this new playoff format, adding the 2 teams on both sides, and then kind of shortening the series too, because it used. I think it's always been. I think they've always either had a best of 3 or best of 5. I don't remember the first round in the. Besides the 1-game winner go home, the wild card winner go home. I think the first round has always been a best of 3 or best of 5.
I think it's been 5. I want to say it's been 5.
Okay, so the best of 3 is new then. That's brand new.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like shortening the first couple rounds, and then you build up to the best of 7.
Right, exactly. That's because you're going 7 games, and like some of these teams where you could tell it's like they're done. They're done. That's it. You got to make them go out, play one more game, and then they go out and win. If they get one win, it's just like they're delaying the inevitable in some senses. But it does also create that competitive aspect. If you got a hot team, one of those 2 wildcard teams got hot late, and then they can ride that heat. And then you got another team that kind of coasted in there and won all these games and just coasted at the last half. Then that could create some good drama in a 2-game, 3-game set kind of scenario. So yeah, I mean, I do enjoy it, and I wish basketball would do it. I wish basketball would mess around with it in some way.
See, and it's kind of the best of 5 series is a little weird for me, because obviously the better team will have 2 games at home, and then you only have to travel, depending how the series goes. You only have to travel to the opposite ballpark 1 time. If you're up 2-0, and like you said, you're delaying the inevitable, you only have to go to that other ballpark for 1 game, which I don't know. I don't know if it's unfair that the other team can't get 2 games at home as well to try to even the series up. But I mean, if you win that first game at home, obviously the series will continue. But so a mini Swiffer, and then I don't know what we'll dub something for the 3-game series. But again, the
mop up.
Yeah, the mop. They mopped them. The American League Series will get kicked off tonight. Once again, that'll be at 8:15 Eastern time, as the Texas Rangers will travel to Houston. Again, at least they don't have to travel far. I don't know how long of a trip it is from Arlington to Houston, but I'm sure it's not as far as Arizona has to go to Philly and vice versa. So that series will get kicked off game 1 tomorrow.
Would they call that the Lone Star Series?
I think that is what they call it.
Do they call it? Because I know they
teams are in Texas. Is it just those 2? I thought there was another one. Yeah, I don't even remember now.
Houston, Texas. Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, okay.
Did they have another one?
I thought.
Because would it be the San Antonio? The San Antonio. No, because it would have.
I don't know now. Now I'm all discombobulated.
You're all jarbled up.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna look now, because I thought they. No, yeah. There's only 2.
Yeah. So
they're in the same division. So that's crazy too. But remember, Houston used to be in the National League.
They used
way back when, and then they brought in who was the expansion team that they brought in, and they kind of had to jumble things around because it was the odd amount of teams.
Was it the Diamondbacks?
It could have been. No, because Houston was in the National League in 2005 because the White Sox beat them in the World Series.
Right.
In 2005.
Was it the Expos? Because didn't the Expos change to a different team?
Well, they became the Nationals, the Washington.
Right, the Nationals, and they had to move those into the National League, right?
But I thought, was Montreal in the American League?
I thought they were in the American League. I don't know. I thought they were in the American League.
Maybe it was. No, it couldn't have been Tampa Bay either, because Tampa Bay and Arizona came into existence way before Houston was in the National League. So
because wasn't Seattle in the National League too, and then they got moved, or were they always in the American League?
I think they were in the American League, but the Seahawks used to be in the AFC. Maybe
that's what I'm thinking of. The Seahawks, because they used to be in the AFC was it
They were
always the
they were
West
they
with
were in the
the
Broncos division,
Broncos? Yeah, they were in the Broncos. Because I remember that would always be a Monday night game, and it would be John Elway versus Rick Meyer, or whoever else was. But back then, I
John
watched John
Kitna.
Elway and Rick Meyer. John Kitna. Oh boy, yeah. That's now we're going on. We're going off on a different. Yeah. Oh boy, where were we?
All right, here we go. I looked it up because our crack staff can't do it.
Yeah.
The move
What do
of
we
the
pay
Houston
these guys?
Astros. Here we go. The move of the Houston Astros from the National League to the American League was long considered by the Major League Baseball as a better way to balance the divisions and scheduling. It allowed MLB to have 3 divisions in each league of 5 teams each. So they just kind of moved them to even out the divisions because Houston was in the NL Central, and I think the NL Central had like 6 teams in it.
Yeah.
It was something like that. I remember. Yeah, the NL Central consisted of Milwaukee, Chicago, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and Houston.
Yeah.
And then they kind of moved them to even it out because now it's Houston, Texas, Seattle, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and Oakland. So every division has 5 teams in it now.
Yeah.
So it just kind of evened things up, I guess. So that's where
that makes sense. That makes sense. Now I remember because they just took them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what happened there. Moving on to football before we get on out of here. If you are a betting person, the Baltimore Ravens have an 18-3 lead over in London over the Tennessee Titans. So I'm sure that's a fun one to be watching right now. 18-3 sounds like a hell of a game for both of those teams right there. So I don't know who your where your affiliations lie with either of those teams, but that seems like a very, very boring contest over in London.
Yeah.
And it's halftime right now anyway. So diving into our week 6 of NFL games here, Matt, the first one on the docket, we will have an NFC North matchup. Could be another boring one, a battle of 1 and 4 teams as the Minnesota Vikings head into the Chicago Bears. Again, both of these teams 1 and 4. Minnesota is a 3-point favorite on the road. If you're looking at fantasy implications, injuries and stuff like that, Justin Jefferson has been placed on the IR, so he's going to be out for multiple weeks, Matt. Again, I have Justin Jefferson and I have Anthony Richardson, so I'm pretty much screwed in fantasy. Khalil Herbert, the Bears running back, Travis Horner, the other Bears running back are out as well. And how about that? The Sun God's brother. I think this is I forgot what they called him, the god of, but Equiminius St. Brown is on the IR for the Chicago Bears. So I want to say like I forgot what it was called, like the Sand God or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the Horse God, I think, because it has because you know how the study of horses called is like equine or equine.
Yeah, equestrian. Yeah.
So I think he's the horse god or something like that. Anyway, he's on the IR as well. Matt, I've again struggling Bears fan here. I have no faith in this team. This is even though this is a coin flip game for me, Matt, because both of these teams are pretty trash, especially with Minnesota without Justin Jefferson. That just kind of brings down their standards. Even though the Bears are at home, I'm gonna go with Minnesota on the road in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. Minnesota is I can't put my finger on it, but I don't know if they know who they are or what they want to be, and they're kind of confused with Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Minnesota on this one too because I just don't know because Khalil Herbert has been pretty good in that offense, especially with Fields throwing him the ball. And then that sounded crazy when I just said, especially with Fields throwing him the ball. But like they do those screen passes, and I know Fields like to throw to the running back, but I just don't know with the Bears. Like I know you're struggling it, but is Fields going to be the guy? Are they going to draft a Caleb Williams or somebody in the top? I don't know because if they're going to win any more to get them out of that situation, so it's a toss up with that. But as far as fantasy implications, man, like I'm looking at Minnesota. I know Jefferson's out, but if you go with Addison, you go with him, you go with Osborne. Those are two other options that should be pretty good in this in a substitute for Jefferson, who's going to be out sometimes. You can probably go with one of those two guys as a wide receiver 2 flex option. I don't know if you can one those guys yet. And then there's Madison too, as far as the running backs go. He hasn't had a stellar season, but he is an option. But I just don't see outside of Fields himself a lot of options over there in Chicago. But I got Minnesota winning this one.
Well, he did find DJ Moore 3 times for touchdowns last week.
Is that consistent? You know,
I don't know. Yeah, it hasn't been. I'll tell you that much. DJ Moore has 5 touchdowns on the season. 3 of them came last week. So, you know, and Justin Fields is having a pretty good season when you, on paper at least. You know, he's already at 1,100 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks. DJ Moore, again, he had 5 catches last week, Matt, for 230 yards and 3 touchdowns. So 3 of his 5 catches last week were touchdowns. Excuse me, Kirk Cousins having a stellar year, Matt. A stellar year for
but they don't want to sign him. It's crazy they don't want to sign him.
I think it came out yesterday that he's not going to use his trade, whatever, something. So that he's going to remain with the team unless they just flat out cut him, I guess. But he's already at 1,400. He's 2 ticks shy of 1,500 yards already on the season, Matt. 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Again, you're missing big production out of Jefferson, like you said, Mattinson. I mean, you don't have Dalvin Cook anymore, so you had to find something, scrambling to find something. Mattinson, again, he's got 276 yards on the ground. He hasn't found pay dirt yet.
No.
So, again, I still think Vikings are a slightly better team, so I'm going to go with them on the road. Who did you pick?
Vikings. I got the Vikings.
All right, moving on to another NFC matchup here. The 2-3 Washington Commanders head into a maybe surprising 3-2 Atlanta Falcons. I don't know how many people had Atlanta at 3 wins so far through the season. Sam Howell, who came into Denver and looked like a Hall of Fame quarterback, has kind of come down to earth of late. But he still had 1,300 passing yards, Matt, 6 touchdowns, 6 picks. So maybe that's where the trade-off is coming from. Robinson Jr. on the ground, 271 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Terry McLaurin doing – I was going to say Terry McLaurin things, but only 1 touchdown on the season, 261 yards. So they've kind of been struggling finding him in this one. Desmond Ridder on the Atlanta side, you know, first full season as a starter for Atlanta, kind of, I don't want to say impressive, but maybe above the Mendoza line when it came to people kind of projecting what his season was going to look like. Just over 1,000 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. The other Robinson on the ground, 364 yards for Atlanta, no touchdowns, and Smith is their leading receiver. A lot of people are saying trade Kyle Pitts. You would hope to see him as the leading receiver for Atlanta, but he's not. So I don't know what's going on there. Fantasy implications when you look at the injury report for these teams, 0 people. So both of these teams are 100% healthy. Atlanta, not even anybody on defense for Atlanta is out. The only person on the injury report for Washington is their cornerback, Christian Holmes. But besides that, Matt, 2 pretty healthy teams. Atlanta's at home. Coin flip game for me, Matt. I'm going to go with the Dirty Birds just because they're at home.
Yeah, and I mean the like you said it right there. Offensively with the Washington Commanders, McLaurin's not doing the things he used to do. Bijan Robinson, I'll get to him in a second, but Robinson Jr., he's getting the touchdown, so he could be a fantasy option, but outside of defensively for the Washington Commanders, who have probably one of the best fronts as far as defense goes in the NFL, when you flip over to the side of the Falcons, I mean, you're looking, this could be one of those low scoring games. Like, I don't know. I don't see a real high scoring game here from either of these teams in the way that they play and the way Desmond Ridder plays. Yeah. And like you said, he's shockingly having a quiet, good, not bad, but not really good season. He's being consistent. He's doing what they need him to do. And that's with Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson is a huge fantasy factor today. just because of the things that he could potentially do. So as far as fantasy goes, yeah, you're going to start Bijan Robinson because you probably drafted him in probably the second or third round. That's where he was going. And what I saw fourth at the latest, but he was going pretty high. So he's probably your RB1, RB2. So you're going to start him. Janu Smith is probably one of those guys too that you're going to keep going to. He's going to get you, especially if you're a PPR person, he's going to get you the receptions. He's going to get you the yards. So you're going to get points there. But as far as touchdowns go in this game, I don't know where you're going to get you're going to get a lot. Atlanta's defense isn't bad. Washington's offense isn't that good. So there's that. And then you flip it and you'll go the same way on the other side. So yeah, I got Atlanta winning this football game, but I don't know if there's going to be a lot of points and outside of those guys. And especially if you're a PPR format, get those guys in there. But if you need touchdowns, I don't know if you're going to get them today.
All right, so both of us going with Atlanta in that one. Another matchup here: Seattle 3-1 heading into Cincinnati 2-3, kind of getting back to their maybe winning way form. Cincinnati is a 3-point favorite at home, so Joe Burrow kind of turning his season around. He's just over 1,000 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. Joe Mixon on the ground, 320 yards, 1 touchdown. Jamar Chase, he's always effing open, and he proved that last week. With a finding pay dirt for the first time in a long time, 476 yards, 3 touchdowns now on the season. On the Seahawks side, Geno Smith, we kind of saw him in and out of the lineup. We saw Drew Lock spotting, by the way, for Seattle last week, who is now questionable to play in this game. But, you know, hopefully if you're Seattle, you do not want to see Drew Lock play in a game because they're starting to Geno Smith. He's at 846 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. Walker third on the ground, 5 touchdowns already on the ground for Seattle. And DK Metcalf obviously is going to be your leading receiver. He's found the pay dirt 2 times through the air. When it comes to fantasy injuries, T. Higgins is questionable for the Cincinnati Bengals. That came down yesterday. Besides that, everyone else on defense is on their injury report. So if you have Cincinnati's defense, maybe take a look at that. On Seattle side of things, not really much on the offensive side. Like I mentioned, Drew Lock's questionable, but again, you're not going to have Drew Lock in your starting lineup. And D. Eskridge, the other wide receiver, I think he's like their fourth or fifth receiver. He is not in this game. So, and he's only owned, by the way, by 4% of ESPN fantasy leagues. So, this one's a tough one, Matt. I know Cincinnati's a 3-point favorite at home, but I'm going to go with Seattle on the road getting it done.
Yeah, I like this game, especially fantasy wise. There's just so much. Start the guys that you have for Seattle. Start the guys that you have for Cincinnati. If you got Burrow, Mixon, Chase, get those guys in your lineup. Yeah, you mentioned Burrow's kind of coming back. They're starting to bounce back. He's starting, whether it's the calf is starting to feel better, whether he's starting to be able to move around on that leg a little bit more, whatever it is, he could be starting to climb back up. But fantasy wise, man, Kenneth Walker, that dude, man, he has been since last season just a touchdown machine. So I do have him in one league. If you got him, he is a definite start. Even Geno Smith, go with Geno, go with DK like you mentioned. Get your Seattle Seahawks in, get your Cincinnati Bengals in. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to go with Cincinnati on this one, but I think it's going to be a high scoring game.
All right, so we kind of split hairs on that one. So yeah, fantasy wise, both of these teams I think are going to find their main fantasy contributors in this one. All right, another one, Colts and Jaguars. Both of these teams coming in this one 3-2 on the season. Jacksonville is going to be a 4-point favorite at home. Keep in mind, Anthony Richardson could be out now, as we mentioned at the top of the show, for the rest of the season, as he's leaning towards having season-ending shoulder surgery. So keep that on the docket as well. On the ground, the one where he scored 2 rushing touchdowns in the first quarter, I'm like, yeah. And then he goes out with the concussion, and you're just like, oh man, this is kind of another, leaning towards just those running quarterbacks that you don't see.
Right.
Lamar Jackson, I know he's been healthy of late, but he's been in and out of the Ravens lineup for the last couple seasons now because of these injuries of holding on to the ball. And I know you got to I know you got to ad lib some plays, Matt, and just make something out of nothing. But this is what when you have a first round pick as your quarterback, Matt. Justin Fields has gotten lucky. Although remember, he missed some time last year because he's running around for his life. Again, the Lamar Jacksons, kind of Cam Newton started this whole thing. Running the ball when maybe you should pass it. I don't know. This is
Josh Allen's another one too that's been pretty lucky on. Tua's had the concussions. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Tua and Josh Allen are definitely pass first quarterbacks. I don't think they're this. I don't know if this sounds right, but I think they're a little less athletic when it comes to running the ball than maybe a Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson. But yeah, Josh Allen's he's so big. I don't know if he even feels it. But, Roethlisberger, I don't know if he ever got hurt running the ball. He was just so hard to take down. But anyway, Anthony Richardson is out, so you're going to see the wonderful hair of Gardner Minshew. I picked him up, Matt. He's going to be my number 2, which I may play him because Dak Prescott has done absolute dog water for me.
Yeah.
So, but Anthony Richardson, okay rookie season. He only has 577 yards, but he does a lot of his damage on the ground, like we just mentioned. Excuse me, on the ground, you have Zach Moss. He's leading the Colts in rushing, 445 yards, 3 touchdowns. Michael Pittman Jr., only 1 touchdown so far through the air. Trevor Lawrence having a pretty good season for the Jaguars, 1,200 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, only 2 picks. Travis Etienne Jr., 3 touchdowns on the ground for Jacksonville. And, of course, Christian Kirk, excuse me, is your leading receiver, but he's only found the end zone 1 time. Excuse me. Injury wise, everyone's pretty healthy. Again, Anthony Richardson is out. And for that reason, Matt, I'm going to go with Jacksonville at home because I think Trevor Lawrence is slightly better than Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a Jacksonville win. And is Jonathan Taylor supposed to play?
I think he sparingly played last week, but I think he should be good to go.
If they get him going again, that could be a big fantasy football option. I don't know where he was drafted this season, but if you got him, this could be a game where you can put him in maybe as a flex or something to see if they get him going. Although Zach Moss is doing really well, and this is what's funny is Zach Moss. This is what he could have done in Buffalo if Josh Allen wasn't your quarterback and he was the primary ball carrier. So this is interesting too with like I said with Zach Moss. So I do like him being in your starter. But if you do have Jonathan Taylor, maybe throw him at a flex, see what happens. You never know. Trevor Lawrence, he has been getting better. I picked him up, thought he would have a great year this year, especially with Calvin Ridley there, Christian Kirk. Calvin Ridley is another guy. If you got him flex. Wide receiver 3, potentially wide receiver 2. I think he's coming back and he's going to get back, getting better as a fantasy football option. Intuine, he's just, I know I say Intuine because I get confused with Tatooine. It happens all the time. But anyway, the dude's catching the football and he's running the football. So I got Jacksonville in this one. But those guys, like I mentioned, especially Calvin Ridley and Jonathan Taylor, if you have those guys on your squad, you get those, start putting them in your lineup because I think they're going to start getting more productive going.
All right, so we agree on. Wait, you picked who'd you
Jacksonville.
Pick? Okay, so we did agree on that one. Heading into another matchup here, the 0-5 Carolina Panthers heading into the 4-1. Miami Dolphins. Bryce Young, like you mentioned at the top of the show, Matt, he's going to play today. Kind of an up and down season, and that's what's going to happen when you're the first round pick and your team's 0-5. But Bryce Young, 750 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. Miles Sanders, 190 yards on the ground. Remember, he is out today, so he is not playing. Of course, I have him as well on my fantasy team, so why not? And Adam Thielen, who went from the Vikings to the Panthers, maybe – I don't know if he'd be regretting it, although the Vikings have one more win, but he has 3 touchdowns through the air. Tyreek Hill doing Tyreek Hill thing so far, 5 touchdowns on the ground. The young buck running back for Miami, 5 touchdowns so far for the Dolphins on the ground, and they are relatively healthy, although they did place him on IR. So right. Kane is out. They placed him on IR. Was it yesterday or something like that? But he is out, so
Yeah.
keep that in mind as well. So maybe look at Raheem Mostert. I don't know how he's going to get the bulk of the carries now, but I don't know how that affects your fantasy lineup. And obviously, Tua, 1,600 yards already, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. We had a Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, spotting last season, but Bryce Young is good to go this week. So, and you saw the I don't want to call it a shootout with Andy Dalton and Jared Goff last week.
Yeah.
Carolina did lose that game 42-24. Man, I'm going to go with Miami all the way. They're 14-point favorites at home, and why not take that 14 points?
Take that 14 points. I will take that 14 points and take Miami as well. I like in this situation, I do think you're going to see some decent I think Thielen's going to get an uptick with Young being back. Sanders is out. I am also a Sanders owner, but I was also able to grab Chuba Hubbard. So every time he has come in replacement for an injured running back in Carolina, he has always done well, whether it was Christian McCaffrey or in this case, Miles Sanders. So that could be an option if you were able to snag Hubbard off the waiver wire, or if you already had him already, he would be a good start today. Get your Dolphins in the lineup. Mozart, you mentioned if a Kane's out, Mozart's going to be that guy. And, Tua Tagovailoa, they're going to do their thing. But I got Miami, and I think it's I don't know if it's going to be 14 points, but I mean, I will take the 14 points, but it could be a little closer than that. But we'll see what happens with Young coming back. I think they're going to get a boost with Young being back in the lineup, but I still got Miami.
All right, heading into another one here, the 5-0 San Francisco Giants head into the 2-2 Cleveland Browns here, and keep in mind too that Deshaun Watson is out for Cleveland. I think I don't know what the meme said, but always closed on Sundays, and they had a picture of Chick-fil-A and Deshaun Watson. But what's not closed on Sundays, Matt? Massage parlor. So maybe you'll see him at your local establishment. David Njoku is questionable for this game, the big tight end for Cleveland. I don't know if you saw that. He got burned. He was in a burning incident.
Yeah, he got burned. Yeah, I did see that.
So keep that in mind as well. Cedric Tillman is out, their wide receiver. So Cleveland pretty depleted on the offensive side. On the San Francisco side of things, Elijah Mitchell is questionable, the running back, and he does a lot of things for that offense along with Debo. So keep that on your fantasy minds as well. Brock Purdy, man, how about this? No turnover so far through the first 5 weeks of the season, man. He's been clean, 1,200 yards passing, 9 touchdowns. Again, 0 interceptions for Mr. Irrelevant becoming Mr. Really Relevant in San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey, by the way, I'm sure we just talked about Carolina regretting kicking themselves in the face for that trade. Christian McCaffrey, 7 touchdowns already. I think we had 3 touchdowns last week or the week before.
Yeah.
Just doing it all different ways. And Brandon Ayuk is your leading receiver for the 49ers, 2 touchdowns for them. Deshaun Watson, again, he is out. I don't even know who's there. Is it still Tim Couch? Is that their back?
I think it's Bernie Kosar's kid, Bernie Kosar Jr. I think that's who it is.
All right. Sure. So, yeah, we have him going. Ford is your leading receiver for with Nick Chubb out. Kareem Hunt comes back, so you may want to look at either Ford or Hunt. Ford, kind of getting maybe the bulk of the carries. We're going to see a lot of Ford and Hunt now with Nick Chubb being out. Ford is only owned by 26% of ESPN fantasy leagues, and that number may rise now with Chubb officially being out. And Amari Cooper, the forgotten man, seems like there. Yeah, this is where careers go to die. Remember the disaster by the lake, the mistake by the lake in Cleveland Browns. Amari Cooper only 1 touchdown through the air. 49ers are a 9.5-point favorite, Matt, and I'm going to take that 9.5 for the 49ers. I think this is going to be I think 49ers are going to run rough shots over Cleveland. The
over-under is 36, and the 49ers haven't scored under 30 yet this season. So they're saying that Cleveland's going to score 6 points is essentially. I would take the over here big time, and the 49ers are stacked. if you have 49ers, start him in this game for 100%. I mean, even though as a Debo owner, I am nervous of putting him back in, even though he's got an injury hanging over his head. I know he didn't show up on the report today, but get Debo in there. What Brandon Ayuk is doing with Brock Purdy, McCaffrey, every 49ers, if you have them, get them in the game today, because there could be mop-up time even. So get your 49ers in the game. I guess go with Ford, ride that hot hand. I don't know. Other than that, I don't see a lot of options here as far as Cleveland goes. San Francisco wins, and it's probably going to be big.
All right. So, yeah, we're not going to split hairs on that one. All right. A couple of teams here. The 3-2 New Orleans Saints going into the 2-3 Houston Texans. I know the Texans are 2-3, Matt, but I kind of like what they got going on down there in Houston with DeMeco Ryans and company, the new head coach for them. New Orleans shut out New England last week, 34-0, and Houston lost a close one in Atlanta last week, 21-19. But I like what CJ Stroud looks like so far through these first couple of weeks, Matt. 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think he broke somebody's record for being a rookie for going 5 weeks without an interception. I forgot who it was, who he tied, but 1,400 yards through the air. Again, 7 touchdowns, no picks for the rookie. So I think that's pretty stellar when you're talking about rookie, especially on Houston. And we've seen rookies struggle in Houston. Damian Pierce, the running back, 247 yards. I'm a Pierce owner, Matt, and I have to start him this week.
Me too.
Only 1 touchdown. Collins is your leading receiver, 3 touchdowns for Houston. On the other side, again, still weird seeing Derek Carr in a New Orleans Saints uniform, but he's doing okay. 946 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Alvin Kamara is back. It's kind of sad he missed 3 weeks, and already he's your leading rusher. He's only played 2 weeks, Matt, but 131 yards, 1 touchdown. And Olav is I like calling him Olav because of the snowman, but
it does look like that.
Yeah, he is your leading receiver, 318 yards, 1 touchdown. When it comes to injury report, everyone's pretty much healthy on offense for the Saints. Everyone on their injury report, except for a tackle and a guard, is on defense. So keep that in mind as well. Robert Woods and Tank Dell, 2 wide receivers for Houston, are questionable in this game, and that just came through yesterday. And besides that, Matt, pretty healthy for both of these squads. New Orleans is a 1.5 favorite on the road, but I'm going to go on the flip side, man. I'm going to take Houston at home, and both of these teams leave Texas with 3-3 records.
I hope I get to watch this game today, because this is an interesting game to me. Because I, like you said earlier, how Houston, how good they've looked with CJ Stroud, and how good they've looked in general. There was the first couple weeks I was kind of like questioning and looking at, like, maybe this DeMeco Ryans isn't ready. Maybe he wasn't the guy, but he's starting. What they're starting to do is learn how to win football games, learn how to stay in football games. And CJ Stroud's playing well. He really is. No interceptions, like you mentioned. So yeah, I'm going to take Houston in this game. And a fantasy football, a fantasy nugget that I think you should look at here in this game is Dalton Schultz. He's starting to, I think he scored a touchdown in 2 of the last, or in 2 weeks, or both of the last 2 weeks, he scored a touchdown. I want to say definitely double-digit points in PPR leagues, and he's starting to kind of, I wouldn't say a security blanket, but somebody that CJ Stroud is looking to. So Dalton Schultz could be a good tight end option in this football game. But you mentioned the rest of them: Alvin Kamara, Olave, and Olav, and with the Saints over there. And then Pierce, I'm a Pierce owner too. He's not getting it done. He's not getting in the end zone, but he's been consistent for the most part, outside of 1 week or 2 where he didn't really score a lot of points. But I do like what Houston's doing, and I do think that they'll get the dub today for sure.
All right, so we agree on the Houston Texans getting the win at home versus the New Orleans Saints. All right, AFC matchup here. It's kind of weird to say the 1-4 New England Patriots. When's the last time we said 1-4 New England Patriots?
It's been a while.
Yeah, maybe pre-Tom Brady at least. I don't know. Going again, the 2-3 Las Vegas Raiders, as they are 2-3. Raiders are a 3-point favorite at home. You might want to take those 3 points in this one. Mac Jones on the verge, perhaps, of being benched. Who's their backup again? He's got a cool name, and I forgot what it is. But
Zappia, the guy that they cut and
Frank
then
Zappa.
re-signed. Yeah, Frank Zappa.
So he's
werewolves in London.
who that was Warren Zevon.
Oh shoot! Well, who's Frank Zappa?
I think he's another singer, but I couldn't tell you a song of his though.
But we were on the right track.
Yeah, Warren Zevon, Frank Zappa, whatever. Mac Jones, perhaps on the verge of being benched, just over 1,000 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Stevenson on the ground, only 1 touchdown, and Kendrick Bourne 2 touchdowns through the air for the New England Patriots. Jimmy Garoppagos Islands doing Jimmy G things. He is only at 917 yards passing. He did miss a week, so I don't know what that makes of it. 6 touchdowns. So when both of these quarterbacks have more interceptions than touchdowns, not a good thing. Josh Jacobs, 2 touchdowns for the Raiders on the ground. Devontae Adams probably still. I'm sure he's pissed off again. He probably wants to be traded. He forces his way out of different situations.
Mm-hmm.
But Vegas still can turn their season around, so we'll see what happens. Fantasy side of things, pretty much healthy on both sides. Thornton, the wide receiver for the New England Patriots, is the only one really, and he's only owned by 14% of ESPN Fantasy League, so he's probably not on your radar. Anyway, Matt, it hurts to say. Well, it would have hurt to say either way, picking one of these teams to win, but I'm going to go with the Raiders at home.
Man, I want to go that route, but just because Josh McDaniels, the mini hoodie, I'm going to give the nod to Bill in this game, and I'm going to go with the Patriots. As far as fantasy football goes, outside of Jacobs, Adams, I don't want anything to do with any of these other guys in this game. Maybe Myers, could be a good option, receiver for the Raiders, who's been Devontae Adams is going to get all that attention, and then you're going to look over there on the other side for him, maybe. But other than that, I don't see any other fantasy football. This is kind of a yucky game.
Yeah, it's gonna be dirty and gross. And
yeah, so
hate the way that you choose to be.
Yeah, why are you the way you are? Football game.
Every time I try to do something fun, you ruin it.
So I'm gonna go with the Patriots just because I'm gonna go with big hoodie over mini hoodie.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it earlier. I mean, was it now without Tom Brady? Are we seeing what it looks like a couple years later?
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, has it just been the Tom Brady effect? And then you had a year after where you made the play. I don't know if New England made it last year, but now we're seeing the effects of Tom Brady's magic has officially left the building.
Yeah, and
he left some residue. He left some residue, but now it's all gone.
They've like Bill Belichick has been through like multiple offensive coordinators. He's even been the offensive coordinator, the way I understand it. So they're in shambles kind of over there offensively for sure without TB12.
All right, here's a battle of NFC. This might be a good game here. The Jared Goff-led Detroit Lions 4-1 against the Baker Mayfield-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-1. When's the last time we said a Jared Goff-led team 3-1 going up against a Baker Mayfield team 3-1? So, Detroit 4-1 in this one. Detroit is a 3-point favorite on the road. Jared Goff having a nice season, 1,200 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, only 3 picks. David Montgomery, the former Bear, now finally shining in a Detroit Lions offense, 6 touchdowns on the ground. Here's the sun god, Matt, 2 touchdowns, 331 yards for Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Detroit Lions. Baker Mayfield, again, he's having a good year, but a quiet year. 882 yards through the year, 7 touchdowns, only 2 picks. So he's keeping that. He's keeping those splits nice. White is your leading rusher on the ground for Tampa Bay, but he's only found pay dirt 1 time. And Mike Evans, of course, is going to be your leading receiver, 3 touchdowns through the air. When it comes to injury reports, everybody mostly is on defense for the Lions. Zonovan Knight is their, I want to say like their 3rd string running back. He's only owned by 4% of ESPN fantasy leagues. He is on the IR. Besides that, on Tampa Bay side, only 2 linebackers. One of them is our former homeboy, Shaq Barrett. He is questionable to play in this game, man. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Patriots and Raiders kind of being a down and gritty type dirty type game. I think that this is going to be, you're going to be in the muggy air of Tampa Bay down in Florida. Detroit is a kind of a gritty team, and that's all based on Dan Campbell, their coach. So I want to say this is a coin flip type game, Matt, but I think Detroit gets it done. I'm going to go with Detroit on the road.
Yeah, I agree. Tampa Bay, they're offensively they do what they can, but this is mostly a defensive team, kind of like a bend but don't break kind of a situation. Detroit offensively is a juggernaut. They are one of the best offensive football teams in the NFL, and they have been, past couple seasons. David Montgomery. Today, I started David Montgomery over Derrick Henry, and it wasn't even, I didn't even think twice about it. And I haven't even, last time I looked, Derrick Henry had like 4 points. He hasn't been what he has, but David Montgomery has been, if not the best, most productive, one of the best and most productive backs in the NFL this season. So if you are a David Montgomery owner, good for you. Great pickup, great deal getting him, get him in your lineup. Get the Detroit Lions in your lineup, like you mentioned, Jared Goff, the Sun God. Get him in your lineup. I don't see much from Tampa Bay. You can spot start Baker, but I like I said, it's not going. I don't feel like this game. It could be big. Detroit could put a lot of points on them if this defense doesn't stop them early or get stops early. But I'm hoping for a good game, but it could be big on Detroit, and I'm going to go with Detroit.
All right, and if you're wondering about that Tennessee Titans Ravens game, Tennessee did kick a field goal, so it's 18-6 now in the third quarter. So yeah, you're probably a good thing of not starting Derrick Henry. They're calling it the International Series now. Over in London, it's not just the Jacksonville second home series anymore. So I guess they're going to be throwing multiple teams over there. All right, we both picked Detroit in that last matchup. A battle of NFC West teams here as the 1-4 Arizona Cardinals go into the 2-3 LA Rams. Rams have been an interesting story for the first 5 weeks of the season. Matt Stafford, again, I could honestly see him calling it a career here very, very soon. But he's having a Matt Stafford Detroit type of season right now.
Yeah.
1,400 yards this year, 5 touchdowns, 5 picks. Williams on the ground, 5 touchdowns. So that's pretty good. And the young buck, Matt, how about the young wide receiver? Cooper Kupp, by the way, is very close to receiving, but Puka is leading your team in receiving right now. 572 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the other side, Hollywood Brown, who – again, he is questionable. He was questionable last week. I don't remember if he played last week, man. But again, zero research, all reaction here. Connor, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and Josh Dobbs, 6 touchdowns, only 2 picks. So good on him for not turning the ball over as much as maybe one would have thought. And on the injury side for the Cardinals, again, Hollywood Brown is on there and Elijah Higgins is on there. They're tight end. Questionable. He's owned by 46% of ESPN Fantasy League, so maybe not on your radar perhaps. But on the Rams, pretty healthy on both sides of the ball there. So Cooper Kupp's not on their injury report, Matt, so he may be giving it a go. Again, I don't know how much they'll test him this week. So maybe, like you said, maybe if you have like one of those flex positions or like those weird wide receiver running back
Right.
spots, maybe throw him in because bye weeks have started and stuff like that. So because I had DK on a bye last week, so I had to throw in God knows who. But Rams are a 7-point favorite at home, and I'm going to go with the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams as well. I know Arizona has shown some resiliency. They get the win, the big win over the Cowboys that kind of started the Cowboys kind of downward spiral. But they lose to the Giants. I mean, I just don't know what to expect from the Cardinals going forward outside of anything than a loss. So yeah, and even fantasy football wise, looking at this, it's a lot of it's on the Rams, and it's not even a lot there. Yeah, you're gonna go with Nakua or how do you say it?
I think it's Puka Nakua, isn't it?
Puka Nakua? Okay, I said it right then. So yeah, Nakua, I haven't really heard that name pronounced a whole bunch. But anyway, you go with Nakua, ride the hot hand.
I think everyone just says Puka.
Puka. We'll go with Puka. Ride with Puka. I mean, ride with Stafford. Like you said, he could be on his way out or he could be retiring. He is old. Kind of a Los Angeles, Arizona rebuild situation. Potentially, you could be seeing that now. But yeah, throw Cooper Kupp just because he's freaking Cooper Kupp at a wide receiver 3 position or a flex position. So if you have one of those, but other than that, maybe James Conner at the flex position. I just don't know fantasy football wise what you would get out of there as outside of Puka. But I got the Rams winning, and this could be one of those other games too where it's not really that interesting because I don't know if these teams really want to win football games overall.
Right. All right, another matchup here. The last undefeated team, the 5-0 Philadelphia Eagles, head into the 2-3 New York Jets. We all experienced what happened last week, at least here in Denver, with the New York Football Jets. It was crazy. It was dumb. It was stupid, and I'm kind of glad the Jets got the win. To be honest with you,
Me too.
So your old homeboy Nathaniel Hackett comes in and gets the last laugh. Stay humble.
Stay humble.
By the way, for Sean Payton there. All right, Jalen Hurts doing kind of Jalen Hurts type things, 1,200 yards through the air, 6 touchdowns, 4 picks. You'd hope to see that split be a little bit towards the TD side of things. How about DeAndre Swift, Matt, getting kind of a career revival, although Detroit's good now, but he leaves Detroit, comes to Philadelphia, 2 touchdowns on the ground. A.J. Brown, 2 touchdowns through the air for the Philadelphia Eagles. Zach Wilson and his hot mom have to start now because of the injury to Aaron Rodgers. I thought they would go out perhaps and make not a big veteran signing, but sign a veteran,
right,
or trade for somebody. I don't know who would you go after, but I did not think Zach Wilson would make it this far into the season, but he's kind of keeping that ship afloat, Matt. 911 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, 5 picks. Breece Hall, you need to feed this dude. You just need to give him the ball. Only 387 yards, 1 touchdown right now.
You could try to tackle him too. The Broncos didn't try to. They don't touch him or tackle him. But
I don't think they do that to anybody. But
no, they don't.
The other Wilson, Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver. I'm not sure if his mom is hot, but he has 279 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns for the New York Jets. On the injury side of things, everyone's pretty much healthy on the Philadelphia Eagles. Most of their injuries are on the defensive side of things. I know they have a pretty good front 5. Fletcher Cox was on this injury report last year. He is 100% healthy. I take 100% for what you will. But Quez Watkins, their wide receiver, is on the IR. He's only owned by 9% of ESPN Fantasy League, so probably not on your radar. Again, everyone on the Jet side of things, everyone's on the defensive side. A couple cornerbacks, Sauce Gardner is out, so keep that in mind. I know the Jets' defense are owned by 94% of ESPN Fantasy Leagues, Matt. They have a pretty good defense. Sauce Gardner is out. Justin Hardy, was placed on IR yesterday, and their other DJ Reed, their other cornerback, is out. So basically, their whole pretty decent defensive backfield is out, Matt, in this one. So keep that in mind when you're placing your defense. I know we don't put a lot of emphasis on fantasy defense, but Jets have one of the better ones, and a lot of their defensive backfield is hurt in this one. I don't think it makes a difference whether they're going to be in or out, but I think Philadelphia, 6.5 point favorite on the road. I think they get the win anyway.
I agree with you too. I was just going to say that I don't think it made a difference if they'd be in. I think Philly gets the win here anyway. They're going to push their way up and down the field. I think they're going the deficiencies on offense with the Jets are going to hurt the defense because Philadelphia, because they're not going to be on the field that often because Philadelphia still has a pretty good defense as well. And it's going to give that Jets Hackett, the best coach the Denver Broncos have had in the past 2 seasons, Nathaniel Hackett's offense there, a great or get them off the field pretty quick. So I don't see much out of the Jets offense today outside of Breece Hall. But maybe, but I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to tackle a little bit better. I think they're going to do things a little bit differently than the Broncos did. So you can't expect, 80, 90 yard yards untouched. His lead blocker and the running back untouched. I don't know if you're going to expect that today, but big time Philadelphia win. I got Philly going into what is that? The Meadowlands there? Is that what they call it still, or is it
I don't
different?
know. It's
in New
New
York.
Jersey somewhere.
It's
I don't know.
East Rutherford, New Jersey. I remember Pat Summerall. Welcome to East Rutherford, New Jersey, where the Jets or the Giants. You know what I mean? Anyway, Philly wins.
Jersey Shore, maybe.
Jersey at the boardwalk.
Yeah, cabs are here.
Yeah, cabs are here. T-shirt time.
All right, the Sunday night game is going to be interesting. The 1-4 New York. Speaking of Giants, the New York Football Giants head in to the Buffalo Bills. 3-2 Giants are 1-4. Buffalo, a 15-point favorite at home in this one, and I think I could speak for both of us on who we're going to go with in this one. Josh Allen, 1,400 yards through the air, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks. Cook through the ground, only 1 touchdown. He's your leading rusher, though. Stephon Diggs, he's pissed off again, so I don't know what that situation would look like later on. But 520 reception yards, 5 touchdowns through the year. Daniel Jones on the verge of being benched, I feel like. 884 yards, 2 touchdowns, Matt, 6 picks. Again, that touchdown to interception ratio, not good. And when he's your leading rusher as well, right. You have a guy. I know Saquon Barkley is he's just miserable right now.
They gave Daniel Jones a lot of money too. Just remember.
And then they gave the Saquon Barkley a 1-year deal. I don't know. I don't remember if it was a franchise tag or what, but he is questionable anyway. He didn't play last week. And then you have Darren Waller, the tight end that came over from the Raiders to the Giants. He is your leading receiver, although he has not found the end zone either. So again, on the injury report, Darren Waller, I don't know. He's owned by 78% of ESPN fantasy leagues, but he's questionable to play today. Saquon Barkley, I would stay away from this dude at this point, Matt. This is the lowest I've ever seen percentage-wise owned in fantasy football, at least ESPN fantasy football leagues, at 72%, Matt. So
wow.
a lot of people are not believing not only in Saquon Barkley, but if your Giants offense is just trash anyway. So I would stay away from anybody on the Giants, to be honest with you. On the Buffalo Bills, everyone's pretty much healthy. Dawson Knox, who's owned by 74% of ESPN family, he is questionable. That came through today. Their other quarterback, Dalton Kincaid, he is questionable. So both of the tight ends for the Buffalo Bills are on the questionable list. So, but again, if you have Josh Allen, if you have just Stephon Diggs, you're starting these guys. Buffalo at home all the way.
100%. I don't need to even add anything else to that. The Giants, like I said before, they gave Daniel Jones all that money, and he's going to get Dayball fired because he's horrible. Saquon Barkley did all that motor mouthing about equal pay the running backs. He's garbage. I'm not saying he's garbage, but the situation that they're using him and how the Giants are going is garbage. Avoid the Giants. Darren Waller, he ever since he's been there, he hasn't played. I don't feel like he's played or contributed, even though he's the saying that he's the leading receiver is saying something. Yeah, Bills all the way.
100%. There you go. All right, the Monday night game here is going to be an interesting one. It might be really good, or it might absolutely just be trash at this point, as the 3-2 Dallas Cowboys go into the 2-2 LA Chargers. Again, you never know what you can get from Dak from time to time. I think he threw 3 picks last week, and in the Dallas Cowboys lost to the 40. They absolutely got demolished by the 49ers, 42-10 in that one. So Dak, I have to start him today, Matt. I just don't have any other option, and it might be a good start against the Chargers defense. Although when did Khalil Mack come? Did he awake from the dead? I know it's Halloween time. Is he a zombie? Like,
he's back?
He rose from the dead apparently, and nobody told me. So
yeah, he's like the Undertaker.
I'm still trying to sell his Chicago Bears jerseys. All right, the Dak Prescott experiment still going on. Just over 1,000 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 44 interceptions. Excuse me, Tony Pollard.
Huge disappointment, man.
Yeah, cool. You thought with the absence of Zeke Elliott there in Dallas, he was going to be very, very good. And again, it might not be his fault. Usually Dallas has a good offensive line, but I don't know what's going on there. Dak, I don't know what's going on there. I just don't know if both of these guys are being products of the offensive line.
Mike McCarthy system, maybe.
Well, and he's calling plays now because Kellen Moore subsequently is the Chargers now offensive coordinator. So we'll see that. That's going to be an interesting chess game, if you will. Or again, both of these teams might be playing checkers. It's a little bit easier game to play. So maybe that's where they are. CeeDee Lamb, again, not getting the ball, 358 yards, only 1 touchdown. Justin Herbert, he's having a good season, 7 touchdowns, only 1 interception, 1,100 yards passing. He's a good fantasy option. He's owned by 92% of ESPN fantasy leagues, so keep that in mind. Kelly, the running back, I don't know where this guy came from. Again, Austin Eckler was another one of those guys who was running his mouth like Saquon Barkley, saying, pay me, pay me. I think he's finally – this is one of the first weeks I've not seen his name on the injury report for the Chargers, but he's always a good – fantasy option. Again, he starts, Matt, and then he gets hurt and he misses like a quarter and a half or whatever. So I don't know if you even want to touch him at this point, but again, he could not play or he could go off for like 4 touchdowns. You just never know. And again, Keenan Allen, a good fantasy option. Herbert is finding him 3 touchdowns already through the air. And again, looking at these injury reports, everyone's healthy on the Chargers side, offensive side of the ball. Everyone that's hurt is on the defensive side except for Parham, their tight end, who's questionable, and he's only owned by 61% of ESPN Fantasy League, so keep that in mind. Everyone on the Cowboys is pretty much healthy on the offensive side. They got a guard, but everyone that's hurt is on the defensive side of things. Van Der Esch, who's their leader on defense. He, besides Micah Parsons, I guess, he is out. He was ruled out the other day. A couple cornerbacks are out as well for Dallas. This is going to be an interesting one, Matt. Monday night game. I don't know how much I believe in. I believe early this season in Mike McCarthy's play calling. It looked good at the beginning of the season. And then I don't know, again, kind of that residue just wore off or something. I don't know what's going on with Dak and Tony Pollard and the like. Why not? Chargers at home.
Yeah, I tend to agree. This is I'm going to go with the Chargers at home as well, but both of these teams have issues, and they're almost like the same issues, and it's quarterback, play caller, inconsistencies from the quarterback and the play caller. Kellen Moore's been pointed at from being with the Cowboys, and then you look at it here, the offense has been better. It's looked better. The defense maybe hasn't been as good as the Chargers would like. And then you flip to the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, they seem like they were vibing. Now it's not what you thought it was. And I've seen this in Green Bay so many years, and Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy, blah, blah, blah. I've seen it happen, and it's happening again with Dallas. And it's just the way it is. It's Mike McCarthy. That's how he calls plays. He gets going, and then he forgets what he was doing, and he goes back to how he goes back to a default Mike McCarthy mode. Doesn't use his players, doesn't use the guy that's his skilled position players, doesn't use them. And that's what you're seeing with CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard only combining for 3 touchdowns. And that's preposterous. That's insane. The defense was holding the Cowboys up for a while. Yeah, I know you can look back and they scored 40 on the Giants, and they scored they scored 30 on the Jets, and then they scored 38 on New England. Those aren't good football teams. Those are all bad football teams. You can say the Jets have a good defense, but still not a good overall football team. When they play good football teams, they get hammered outside of the Cardinals, obviously. So I'm going with the Chargers at home, and I think Herbert is still young enough and he's better that he's going to get right. But as far as the defense goes with the Chargers, that could be their downfall going forward, but I have them today. Fantasy football wise, man, I don't know.
It's
like I'm going to start Pollard because I have to, because I drafted him like to start him, but I don't like a lot of the starts here.
Right. And if you look at their passing yards allowed for both of these teams, actually Dallas, again, you're missing Trayvon Diggs now.
Right.
So I don't know how that number is going to go, but they're only allowing 185 passing yards a game, which is pretty good.
Right.
And again, without Diggs now, I don't know where that number goes. And they're only allowing 123 rushing yards per game. on the ground. I know that looks like a high number, but and the Charger side of things, Dak may go off here. Chargers are allowing 329 passing yards per game through the air. And I don't know how much of that results in touchdown passes, but that's a lot of yards through the air. And meanwhile, the Chargers defense is only allowing 104 rushing yards on the ground. So your Tony Pollard start, 100 yards is going to get you 20 points in fantasy, depending on how that's ranked. But
typically 15 to 20, with some because there's going to be some PPR in there too. If you have PPR, if you have receiving, because he does catch the ball. So that's what you're hoping for. That's what you're hoping and praying for, that you get that.
Right. So we will see. That's a Monday night game. Again, could be a good game. Could be absolute trash as well. So I don't know. Yeah, fantasy implications. It's Keenan Allen.
It's tough. It's tough there. If you have.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's my only pick. Again, you have to go with. I have to go with Dak. You have to go with Pollard. So that leaves us in a tough bind there. So, but
sure,
you go with the Chargers at home. By the way, I don't know if you're keeping tabs on the WNBA finals, but the Las Vegas Aces, 2-point favorites on the road, playing the New York Liberty. So,
ooh.
I like the Aces though. And
I like the Aces as well.
They lead the series 2-0 as the series shifts back to New York. MVP Brianna Stewart. Hopefully, her and Ionescu can get things going for the New York Liberty. But speaking of Darren Waller, I'm a Kelsey Plum fan. And by the way, the head coach for the Las Vegas Aces, Matt, former CSU Ram, by the way, and recent Hall of Famer. So Becky Hammond.
Yep, Becky Hammond.
I mean, this could be the first back-to-back WNBA champions. Matt, could be the first back-to-back WNBA champions if the Aces pull this off.
Ooh, that's impressive.
So,
and we might get a team. Denver might get a team.
Well, did you see they picked the Bay Area this year?
Oh, they did. I missed that. I missed it.
Yeah, because Nick and I were trying to think of names for not only the Bay Area, because like New England, New England encompasses a few states. Connecticut, obviously, Vermont, or whatever. But I would kind of like a Bay Area. Like that kind of name, because Golden State, obviously that's California, but it's not a city or a state name. It's kind of encompassing name. So I would like the WNBA to kind of name their new team on like the Bay Area, whatever, like the Bay Area Babes. I know I'm not going to go with that. That's kind of, but you know what I'm saying.
Bombshells. Yeah, I know what you mean. I like that. I like the Bay Area.
But
for sure.
But speaking of Denver, what would you name the Denver WNBA team?
Oh man, I'd probably go with because do you want to go like what the Sparks did and go like with the Laker theme? Would you go with like the Goldies or something like that with the Nuggets? It could be like that, or gosh, I don't know, because you'd have to dig in. You'd have to do history. You'd have to dig into what women's basketball means here. You'd have to go mix of Buffalo, Rams. There's a lot of women's basketball history here that you can really put in to get a good name. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that.
If Denver got a team, do you see perhaps them trying to pursue Becky Hammond to come home?
Yes. Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because you look at some good female players and coaches.
I don't know where she lives in the off season, so I don't know, but
you could. You definitely could.
I mean, to start if Denver, again, this is all hypothetical, of course, but if you got a WNBA team here, you pursue Becky Hammond, that's going to kick off your draw for attendance, by the way. Not only a former CSU Ram legend, but now a Hall of Famer for the WNBA. I mean, that's pretty darn good. So, we were trying to think of a name last week, and then do you go with Colorado? Do you go with Denver? Do you go?
Right.
I mean, are they going to play at the SAC? That's kind of weird.
I don't know if you can.
You put a women's team at the SAC. I don't
know if you could put the women's team in the SAC.
I mean, I'm sure they will, but
Yeah,
you have the Coliseum that's kind of run down. I don't know if you want to start
They're-
them up there.
I think they're kind of renovating that maybe. You could put them there. You know, I enjoy watching cutthroat games there and some other. There was a Denver like a whatchamacallit team there, but I don't know. That'd be interesting though. You can't, but I think they'd have to be in this at the SAC. They'd
Yeah,
have to be there.
There. I was trying to think a name like.
I don't. That's tough because it's like, do you want to go? Do you want to match kind of with the Nuggets what they got going, or do you want to do something on their own?
Well,
And what would that be?
And we were talking too, like Denver's all four of their professional sports match kind of what the state provides, right? You
Right.
have Denver Nuggets, you know, the Gold Rush, stuff like that. You have the Broncos, horses running in the wilderness.
Yep.
You have the Avalanche, obviously, Avalanche in the mountains, and you have the Rockies, obviously, the Rocky Mountains, and
Yep.
so even the Rapids, you know, the
The
creeks, and
river, Colorado River.
you know, so it all kind of matches what goes on. And I you know, people are like, why are they called the Utah Jazz? Well, they came from New Orleans Jazz, you know, that kind
Right.
of, you know, why are they called the Lakers? Because they came from Minneapolis.
From the Minneapolis Lakes, the Lake Shore. Right.
So, or do you just go off track and say, you know, the Denver, I don't even know where you go, but
Yeah, you would have to go. Yeah, I mean, it's I can't think of a good name. I can't think of a name without it revolving around girl stuff, women stuff. So I'm not going to go down there. I'm gonna I can't. You know, like I keep thinking like the Goldies, the Beauties, the Denver, the Mile High. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, do you do that too? We touched on the Bay Area, whatever. Do you go with like, instead of saying Denver or Colorado, you go the Mile High?
Yeah, the Mile High.
Herons. I don't know.
Like the Monarchs. Maybe the Monarchs.
Well,
Mile High
I
Monarchs.
think there is a WNBA team called the Monarchs already.
Oh, is there?
Isn't it
Darn
the
it.
Seattle Monarchs?
Yes, that's right. Stupid
Bird.
Seattle. Why are they the Monarchs? They're not.
There's a monarch.
Isn't it a bird
I have
or
no,
a flower or a butterfly?
no idea. Never
Well,
heard.
no, wait. The lark bunting is our state bird, I believe.
So there you go. The Mile High Lark Bunting.
The lark.
What? Or do you place them in Boulder so it kind of goes with the name, the Boulder Lark Bunting?
The Boulder lark buntings. That could be good.
There you go.
You know.
The Loveland Ladies.
The Loveland Ladies would be nice. The Denver, yeah, that's a tough one. You know,
Yeah.
we're gonna have some homework next week. I'm gonna have a list of
Yeah.
names.
I brought this up last week. Maybe we have another contest, a jersey giveaway, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
For the best WNBA team if it were to come to Denver.
If they were to come to Denver, yeah,
So
that
I
would
don't
be cool. Yeah,
you know, because again, like the New York Liberty, that's a good one. Because,
that's a great one.
Because of Statue of Liberty, the Las Vegas Aces, obviously, that's a good one because of, you know, being in Vegas and stuff like that.
Because we got them all covered. Like I feel like we got all the Colorado stuff covered. Unless you want to start going down the marijuana route, which is big here in Colorado.
Yeah, the Mile High Joints.
The Mile High joints. The flowers.
That's what I like, the Mile High Kush.
The Mile High Kush is good. The Mile High Flowers is good. Mile High Flower.
Yeah.
You know, Colorado Flower. The Colorado Vapes.
Colorado Kush. That has a better sound to it. I like the mile because you have high in it.
Yeah. The Mile High Kush could be good. The Mile High
Vapors.
Mile High Vapors. The Denver edibles. The Denver gummies. I mean,
Denver Gummies.
I don't know. We're getting out of control.
What's the baseball team called? The Vibes. Is that what they're called?
The
what?
Vibes. No, the yeah, it's the Vibes.
Aren't they called Mile High Vibes? Or are they called?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Aren't they down in
'Cause
the Springs?
I think they're are they up north or down in the Springs?
I think they're down south. Could be wrong, but
Mile High
again, zero
Vibes.
research, all reaction here. So
Rocky Mountain Vibes.
there you go. You could go Rocky Mountain Way. The Rocky Mountain Way. There you go. The old
The Rocky Mountain Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh song.
Yes, the Rocky Mountain Way. I like that. The vibes would be nice. The stupid baseball team.
Yeah, you couldn't go vibes anymore. Rocky
No.
Mountain Kush, that kind of has a good.
It has to be. They have to be the Kush. The Lady Kushes. The Lady Kush.
the Mile High Lady Kush. There you go. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
yeah,
boy.
everyone's secondhand smoking in the sack. So there you
Yeah,
go.
everybody.
It's like Red Rocks concert.
Hey, the Red Rocks.
Rocks, yeah.
The Red Rocks could be good.
The Rocky Mountain Red Rocks.
The Rocky Mountain Red Rocks. Oh boy.
All right, yeah, well,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
We'll get down to the bottom of this,
again,
everybody.
we have a giveaway too for the best name as well. I know we just put out all the best names, so you're kind of stuck, but
Yeah, don't copy us. We just gave it to you.
yeah, no cheating. No
Cheaters.
Houston Astros on this one, all right?
Nope, no banging trash cans.
There you go. But that's going to do it for us here on the Wheelhouse once again. Thank you for tuning in and getting involved with us. Make sure you go to e5280sports.com for all of our content, the audio vault, the video vault, and go to YouTube as well at 5280 Sports Radio. Like the Facebook page, Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Instagram at Elevation 5280 Radio. At House Dad Matt. I am at Sports Junkie 25. And follow us on X. Go and give it to you at 5280 Sports Radio. At Matt Mesgradness1. I am at Michael Spillin. And again, our YouTube channel is at 5280 Sports Radio as well. But that's going to do it for us here. And for Matt Mascarenas, I am out of Spill. We will talk to you and see you next week.